Ashley Hawkins, and I will be doing the stage directions. I'm Corey Carter, and I will be reading Gestapo Official.
I'm Derek Snow, and I'll be playing Schroeder.
I'm Samantha Snow, and I will be playing Martina Visconti.
I'm Parker Pereira, and I will be playing Sam.
I'm Alexander Dela Cruz Nunez, and I'll be playing Joey.
I'm Cheyenne Haynes, and I'll be reading as Julia Visconti.
The names. A play by Paul Lewis. Time and place. Various locations in wartime Italy, 1943 through 1945. There is one flashback to a Berlin hotel room, 1936. The action of the play is intended to shift fluidly between scenes, and the settings may be simply suggestive. The story is framed by a car trip from Milan to San Remo, Italy, on a May night in 1945 at the end of hostilities in Europe. Characters: Martina Visconti, an operatic soprano. Julia, Martina's sister. Sam, U.S. Army Infantry. Joey, U.S. Army Infantry, Sam's Army buddy. Schroeder, a language professor. A Gestapo official. Act 1. Lights up on Martina, speaking directly to the audience.
Somewhere within the deepest recesses of my memory lives a circus. A reflection from a day long ago when my sister, Julia, and I were young. We must have been out on an excursion from the orphanage in the heart of Rome to this circus that had set up an encampment in the outskirts of the city. I can recall the marvelous elephants transported across the sea from somewhere in Africa, the rustic clowns from Sardinia, and the ponies adorned with ribbons pulling brightly painted Sicilian donkey carts. But what I remember most vividly was the woman on the tightrope, working without a net, graceful, cheerful, composed, her face one of complete equanimity. And something happened. It may have been a sudden gust of wind or the trumpeting of angry elephants. Her concentration apparently shattered. Her feet seemed to falter. Fear crossed her face and ignited her eyes for the briefest moment. Yet, the moment passed without incident. The war is over now. But by sheer force of habit, I find myself treading carefully still. For since this war began, I have been a tightrope walker, crossing high above the turbulent seas yawning beneath my feet, hoping to find safe passage to the other side.
The sounds of a vehicle on the road. Lights up on Sam driving, Martina sitting in the passenger seat with handcuffs on. On the road to San Remo, May 1945.
Where are you taking me? To Genova?
To San Remo.
San Remo? I don't understand.
Those are my orders, to turn you over to the Italian authorities at San Remo.
This is very far away.
Yeah, it's kind of a long drive. Are you comfortable enough?
I would be much more comfortable without these...
Handcuffs. Let me pull over.
Unlocking the handcuffs.
In case you're thinking of bolting on me, trying to escape, I wouldn't advise it.
Your MP saved my life from an ignorant mob of my countrymen. And to where would I escape with no money, no belongings? I will not bolt on you. I am powerless. Thank you.
Don't mention it.
He resumes driving.
I will not try to escape. San Remo, you say?
It doesn't make a lot of sense to me either, but it's total chaos in Milan, as you know, so nothing makes a whole lot of sense anymore.
My country has been through a war.
A war? No kidding. That must be the reason some guy's been shooting at me for the past 2.5 years.
We each had our war. It was very difficult, your war.
It had its moments.
Who are you?
I already told you back at the lockup. I'm Second Lieutenant Sam Wilcox, U.S. Army Infantry. You can look at my name tag if you don't believe me. Wilcox.
I'm surprised that a second lieutenant is transporting an Italian prisoner, a civilian, to San Remo.
What can I say? Those are my orders.
Those are your orders.
You speak pretty good English, by the way.
Where is this opera singer, I wonder, this Martina Visconti, who has my face and gives me endless trouble? I will pull out her hair if I ever see her.
You and a few other people. Nazi collaborators aren't exactly winning any popularity contests at the moment.
I had nothing to do with the Nazis. I am a school teacher from south of Italy. I teach English to the high school schools in Milan. You have my paper, so you should know that.
Yeah, well, I also know that half the population of Italy is running around with phony documents these days, hoping to pass themselves off as somebody they're not.
Yes, it is true.
But if you are who you say you are, this Elena Marina Bonaventura, the Italian police will hopefully sort out this in no time and let you go home.
We shall see. This is not your concern.
No, it's not. But with any luck, you'll get everything squared away.
It would take a great deal of luck. The people in my country are waking up from a long nightmare, but are not fully awake. They think they know so much, but they know nothing. They see things, but they don't really see. They forget how thin the line is between light and darkness. Forget their own complicity. I know nothing of singing. Would you like me to sing? You must then cover your ears. If I try to put two notes together, it will be fiasco.
If you're as bad as you say you are, I'll take a rain trek. Not that I'd know good opera singing from bad. I've never been much of an opera fan, to tell you the truth.
Perhaps you've never seen one.
I saw Night at the Opera once. Does that count? The Marx Brothers.
Marx Brothers. I'm not familiar with these composers.
So you do know a little something about opera.
Opera is to the Italian people, is like baseball to the Americans. It is everywhere.
Speaking of baseball, today was opening day, Major League Baseball. You know, wouldn't mind catching up on the scores. Mind if I turn on the radio?
I am your prisoner. It is not for me to mind.
Turning on the radio and turning the dial.
Of course, it'll be a miracle if we can pick anything up. Busted antenna.
Sound of radio static and distant stations.
Buffoon. Mussolini. He was a character from an opera. In all the world, only Italy could have created a character like that.
Uh-huh.
A Benny Goodman tune emerges faintly through the static.
But what do you know? Jazz. America's gift to the world. Everybody likes jazz.
This is your opinion.
My mistake.
Why are you transporting me and not the military police?
Like I said...
No, forget that I asked. Those are your orders.
Lights dim slightly on Sam as Martina begins a soliloquy, stepping outside of the vehicle.
May 1945. Heading southwest out of Milan. I can almost recall what it was like to live it. Night and day, eat and drink it, breathe it in, breathe it out. To think about all the time, music, 12 tones and all, the deeps and swells of an Andalmuth aria, the wailing of Benny Goodman Orchestra, and the terrible, stupid certainty of a fascist anthem. Each one an expression of different facets of the human soul, yet each composed from the same 12 notes, and the silences between.
Lights up on Julia's apartment, autumn 1943. Julia is at a table trying to memorize material from a textbook. The entire scene is a projection of Martina's memory. Julia is not aware of Martina's presence or voice.
And so, of course, the vocabulary of music reminds me of the periodic table of the elements. And then I think of my sister Julia, and how she struggled to master the vocabulary of the universe. Why? Because everything reminds me of her. Every question becomes the question I most want to have answered. Where are you, Julia? Did the Nazis continue to torture you? Or did they keep their promise? Did they treat you as a prisoner of war? And when they finally fled Milan, did they shoot you out of spite? Or did they set you free?
The uncoiling spiral follows the order of atomic numbers from neutron, 0, to uranium, 92. Group 1, sodium family. Hydrogen, lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium. Group 2, calcium family. Beryllium, magnesium, calcium, strontium, barium. Group 1, sodium family. Hydrogen, lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium.
Autumn 1943. Look at her. Always forgetting to eat when studying for her exams. Forgetting to sleep. Brush her hair.
Group 2, calcium family. Beryllium, magnesium, calcium.
Julia, think. Strontium.
Porca putana, strontium, strontium, and barium. It is hopeless. I am going to fail my exams. They will throw me out of pharmacy school and I shall end up on a street corner selling trinkets and pornographic pictures to the fascist militias.
Group 2, Julia.
Group 2, calcium family. Beryllium, magnesium, calcium, strontium, barium.
Brava. Again.
The world is coming apart before our eyes, and here I am stuffing my head with useless, stupid facts. Beryllium, magnesium, calcium, strontium, barium. Ma che caso? What the fuck is strontium?
It doesn't matter. The uncoiling spiral follows the order of atomic numbers from neutron 0 to uranium 92. Group 1, sodium family.
Hydrogen, lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium. Group 2, beryllium, magnesium, calcium, strontium, barium. I should have gone to Spain when I had the chance. Joined the Republican cause.
You get yourself killed in someone else's battle.
But I am Italian. Will always be Italian. Group 3, scandium family. Rare earth elements.
There it is. The letter on your desk from the university. You will open it on your own timetable, as always. Perhaps tonight, perhaps tomorrow. And then you will know that this long night of study has been in vain.
Group 3, boron, aluminum, scandium, yttrium. Scandium family.
Oh, Julia, I would have wished for all the evil in the world to go away. But gauzy wishes have no currency when you're trying to find your way across an ocean of evil and acrimony. And as I saw the world growing more dangerous day by day, by the month, by the year, I could not help but try to protect you, shield you, and if necessary, rescue you from trouble. It's been many years since we have lived in the Jewish home for orphanages in Rome, yet you'll always be my little sister. And so, my one small, improbable wish was that the two of us would emerge safely on the other side of night.
Blackout. Gestapo Headquarters, Department D, Milan, autumn 1943. A female Gestapo official sits behind a desk where there is an open file.
Sit, please. Your papers, Signora.
There you go. I'm here because
Your date of birth, October 1907, question mark. Why is there a question mark?
I spent the first 7 years of my childhood in an orphanage in Rome. I have no way of determining the exact date of birth. No one ever informed me.
Then your paper should indicate unknown, not question mark. Your civil status?
Widow.
4 years ago. Bleeding ulcer, was it?
And yet you ask.
Your religion?
I have no way of knowing the religion of my birth parents.
Yet you were adopted by a Jewish family and brought up in a Jewish household.
Yes.
Attended synagogue, no doubt celebrated the Jewish holidays, etc.
Yes.
So your religion?
Why do you ask if you already have determined that I am a Jew? But according to your own racial laws...
There is no need to cite the racial laws of the Reich to me, Signora. Even if there should be no Jewish blood in your veins, the fact that you are Jewish by choice and therefore subscribe to the tenets of international Marxism does not go unnoticed.
Once you are finished interrogating me, may I tell you the reason I am here? It's about my sister, Julia, my younger sister.
Producing a letter.
She's been studying in the School of Pharmacy for the past 5 years.
The official yanks the letter from her and looks it over.
As I was saying, she's been studying for 5 years. Is just about to sit for her exams next week, in fact. But just yesterday, she received a letter expelling her from the university.
You are here hoping to persuade us to allow your sister Julia to continue her studies at the university.
Please try to understand, she's completely apolitical, entirely agnostic.
And do I take it that she is mute as well? If this is a matter of such pressing gravity, why is she not here to speak on her own behalf?
I'm here without her knowledge. She's not good at this sort of thing. She has many admirable qualities, but finesse is not one of them. Excuse me, but are you Italian or German? Your Italian is perfect.
I don't know if finesse is in any importance in these circumstances, nor is my country a buzz, nor your reputed prestige and fame, or the attitude of imperial superiority with which you had hoped to advocate on the part of your sister. The reason for expulsion was precisely delineated in this letter. It was not a suggestion, Signora. It was a determination. The Reich has determined that she, like you, is for all practical purposes a Jew. Thus, her expulsion from the university.
But what do you expect her to do now if...
This is of no concern to the Reich. But if I may turn the conversation back to you, Signora, just what exactly are you doing remaining in Italy?
I don't know what you mean.
You haven't had a singing engagement in over 2 years, by all appearances.
As of 1941, I could only work in his country if I were to join the Fascist Party of Italy. Even if I had an interest in joining, which I most assuredly do not. The PFI specifically excludes Jews. And you must be aware that for me to perform in German-occupied Italy, I would need to join the Reich Music Chamber, which also excludes Jews.
Exceptions can be made under exceptional circumstances.
I shall wait until Italy is once again free, I think. Free of German occupiers, free of fascism. I can't imagine a circumstance so exceptional that it would compel me to sing before that time comes. Would that be all, Fräulein?
You were the one who requested this interview. I know what you are thinking, Signora. That there is nothing for you here anymore. For you or your sister. That perhaps there is still time to leave for America or Palestine.
Is there?
For you, perhaps. The Reich has little to gain by compelling a world-famous opera star to stay here against her will.
And my sister?
She would have to submit a request for an exit visa to the proper authorities. With luck, it might be considered within a year or two. If all children were to have such attentive siblings as you, the world would be a much happier place. Don't you think?
Blackout. Army tent, autumn, 1943, Sicily. Lights up on his face representing an army tent. Sam is in his sleeping robe. Joey is slurping loudly as he devours a can of peaches.
Joey, what the hell?
How come you didn't tell me you were up, Sam?
Well, I wasn't. But you're slurping loud enough to wake the whole platoon.
Peaches and heavy syrup.
How come you couldn't eat your tin of peaches at mealtime like everyone else in the unit?
I lost my appetite for dessert when I saw those OCTs parked just offshore.
So now you got it back at what? 2 in the morning?
He opens a tin of peaches as well.
Well, now I can't see them.
Yeah, they're still out there whether you can see them or not.
Besides, when I was growing up, I was taught never to waste food. So I either eat them now, waste them, or schlep them in my pack when we hit the beaches on the mainland.
Yeah, it seems I read somewhere about a tin of peaches stopping a bullet and saving someone's life.
Spam, I think, not peaches. It's blowing pretty hard out there, Sam. Do you think that the wind is ever going to die down?
Do I look like a meteorologist to you? How the hell am I supposed to know whether the wind's gonna die down?
It's just that I get seasick very easily.
Yeah, I know. You get seasick on boats, car sick on cars, bus sick on buses. You won't go near a train because of something that happened when you were a kid. What's left? Pogo sticks?
No, I'm afraid of heights. Won't go near an aeroplane if I can avoid it.
You've essentially ruled out every modern form of locomotion. How are you ever gonna see the world once the war is over?
I've seen enough of the world on this tour. Once the war is over and I'm back home in New Jersey, I won't need to see the world anymore. I've seen North Africa and Sicily, and now, God willing, you and I are going to see a little bit of Italy. That's enough of the world for me.
Whatever you say, Joey.
Italy's practically the doorstep to Germany, Sam. The crowds are going to pull out all the stops to try to pin us down at the beachhead.
Ah, jeez. And here I was looking forward to one of those Oktoberfest celebrations upon our arrival. You know, with bratwurst and lederhosen and those pretty blondes. Ooh.
I should close my eyes now. Try to get some sleep.
Oh, face it, you're not getting any sleep until the war is over. I think you've forgotten how. It can't be good for you. You go without sleep for this many months.
No, it's not very good for you at all. I could have told you that.
No, we're getting through it, Joey. A couple of weeks from now, give or take, we'll be in Rome.
You think so?
I can just picture it. You and me, a girl on each arm.
Seeing the sights, the Colosseum, and the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
Oh, there you go. Although, the Leaning Tower of Pisa is technically not in Rome.
If we ever make it as far as Milan, Sam, I am going to introduce you
To Martina Visconti.
You don't believe me, but I am. Just you wait and see.
Joey,
What?
who is this Martina Visconti character anyway?
You're kidding me, right?
Why would I be kidding? You've been bringing up her name ever since we left Fort Dix, and I'm starting to get curious.
Do you mean you've never heard of her? I figured all this time you'd at least heard of her.
And I figured she was maybe some name you happened to see on a bathroom wall back at Trenton.
She ain't some name on a men's room wall.
Then who the hell is she?
I can't believe you've never heard of her.
Well, I haven't.
She's an Italian opera star, Sam. She's world famous.
I'm not a big follower of the operatic arts, Joey.
You're lost, Sam.
So noted. And you know this dame?
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
How, if I may ask, did you get acquainted with an Italian opera star?
It's a long story. I'll tell you some other time.
Up to you. What makes you think she'll be in Milan once we get there? Or for that matter, that Milan's going to be in Milan when we get there?
Well, if she's not there, someone at La Scala will probably know where to find her.
Who?
It figures.
Well, anyway, I hope she likes a good time.
She's really not that kind of girl, Sam.
Oh, maybe she's got a sister who is that kind of girl.
You know what? I'd really prefer not to talk about it anymore.
Fella can dream.
So, I'll tell you my dream. What I want out of this war, besides not getting myself killed, it's very simple. To go to Milan and look up Martina Visconti. Then once the hostilities are over, go home to Trenton and open up a tailor shop. Rosen Brothers Men's Furnishings and Apparel.
How does that make any sense?
What do you mean?
You don't have a brother, Joey.
You know what? A lot of things don't make sense. But it doesn't necessarily mean that we don't want them. That's my dream, Sam, and God willing, it'll come true. To make it to Milan in one piece, then go home to Trenton where I'll be content to live peacefully for the rest of my life.
Blackout. On the road to San Remo, May 1945. Lights up on Sam and Martina in the vehicle. Sam continues to drive. Martina looks straight ahead. The sound of radio static fills the air.
Your American jazz has gone away.
Oh, yeah. Guess I got lost in my thoughts.
He turns off the radio.
About the war.
Yeah. About the war.
About going home, also.
The trip home may still be pretty far in the future. Best not to think too much about that. Maybe you can catch up on some sleep now that the radio's off.
Maybe yes, maybe no. I think I have forgotten exactly what it is like to sleep.
An army buddy of mine, we met at the recruiting station in New York. We came over here together. I think he went the entire war without getting any sleep.
Your friend must have been very relieved when the war finally ended, when he could finally sleep.
Lights fade on vehicle. Martina leaves the confines of the vehicle.
Maybe I no longer know how to distinguish between sleep and wakefulness. Maybe we have become a nation of sleepwalkers, eyes wide open yet locked onto this twilight sleep, none of us knowing when it might end.
A distant train whistle.
Distant train. I think of the day in November 1943 when I saw my sister off at the central train station in Milan. Whatever the question, my answer is Julia.
Milano Centrale train station, November 1943. Lights up on Julia, standing alone, nervously, a suitcase by her side. Martina, wearing a diamond and emerald pendant on a necklace, enters and joins Julia.
Some bread and cheese for the train.
Thank you.
You'll get yourself killed, Julia. For nothing.
You think it is nothing to resist the Nazis? To fight for the people?
Your eyes are so full of stars, Julia. The people you talk about are a fabrication. Look around you. Merchants, spies, mercenaries, businessmen, fishwives.
They are everywhere, the people I talk about. The partisans, the true patriots of Italy. I can see them, yet you walk by them without seeming to notice.
This is what I notice. Just a year ago, they were cheering in the street for Mussolini. In the streets. And now, they only want to lie low until the Allies drive Germans back into Germany.
What made you think that you could negotiate with those Nazi sons of bitches?
Because I thought there was a chance. Because I couldn't bear the thought of all of your years of schooling turning to dust.
You have money, you have jewelry. You should escape to America. I told you this years ago. Resume your singing career and forget about me.
I cannot forget about you. Will not.
Maybe it's for the best that it happened this way. I know now that my future is not that of a provincial druggist in a fascist state.
So, instead, you ran off to Genova to join a band of partisans. A life on the run. Constant danger.
Would you rather I stay in Milan until they come for us, just as they did in Rome and Venice? Enough. We've been through this so many times.
Julia, I am terrified at the notion that I may never see you again.
It's always a melodrama with you.
You validated your train ticket?
Porca puttana! I forgot.
How could you forget such a thing?
Stop treating me like a child.
I'll stop.
We are no longer in the orphanage.
I'll stop treating you like a child when you start behaving like an adult. Go now, quickly, while I watch your things.
Julia exits. After a few moments, Martina makes brief eye contact with a man, Schroeder. They recognize each other and, after a moment, re-establish eye contact. Lighting shifts and softens, and train station noise fades as we enter Martina's memory, etched by fragments of a conversation from years ago.
Something changes,
It often does.
but you would rather not give it a name.
I've always thought it best to travel light, to carry as little as possible.
Julia returns. Lighting and sound shift back to train station.
Greta, at last! I was worried you might miss your train. Beneath the clock, a visitor from Berlin.
The ticket windows of Milan. It's best not to count on them when you're in a hurry. Fortunately, all of my papers were in order, and there was no queue.
Greta, I will say goodbye to you now. You must not miss your train to Verona.
I will see you in a few days.
Ciao. Ciao, amore mio.
Julia exits. Martina watches her go, glances once more at Schroeder. He exits.
The journey along that road may not be as straightforward as it appears. Exceedingly rapid calculations and corrections must be made along the way. A gentleman from Berlin. Friend or foe? 7.5 years ago, I quickly calculated. 1936. We met at a reception at the Italian consulate in Berlin, following the first dress rehearsal of Ruscala, adoring opera star and a professor of Romance languages at the university there. We shared an affinity for the language, stories, a drama.
Blackout. A hotel room, Berlin, 1936. Lights up on the suggestion of a hotel room, suffused by winter light. Martina, in a slip, stands at a window.
Your forecast was correct. The skies have opened up. With the falling snow, a flock of children.
Schroeder appears, buttoning his shirt. They look out the window together.
I know the skies of Berlin. I could tell that the clouds were heavy with snow. Although the children I did not forecast.
You're leaving.
I would love to stay.
No, don't.
Handing her a slender volume.
This is for you.
Rusalka. Your translation.
My first attempt to translate a Czech language libretto. And I doubt that I shall be called upon to do another. My Czech is very rough.
She reads the inscription inside.
Thank you so very much.
Rusalka's Act 1 aria, sung to the moon. I heard it as a young man and decided that I had to learn Czech. Listen to hear you sing it on stage. Martina.
No, please. Whatever you are about to say, I suspect it's best left unsaid.
And if I were to say that I've fallen in love with you,
No, I don't think so.
then we should find a way to be with each other again.
This week, our time together has been unexpected. A gift. But your wife and children are on their way back to Stuttgart. Tomorrow, I'll be returning to Milan. Our lives will resume as they were before.
Not quite.
I suppose you're right about that.
Something changes.
It often does.
But you would rather not give it a name.
The impulse to reach for another, to find comfort in another's company, to seek pleasure and retreat from the pain. Especially when the rest of the world is spinning out of control, reinventing itself every fortnight. Does it really matter what name we put on it?
Putting a name on something allows you to better understand it. Remember it for what it is or is not. Carry it forward into the future.
I've always thought it best to travel light. Carry as little as possible. This I shall keep, of course. It weighs but a few ounces, and I'll treasure it. Look at that girl in blue.
She is a warrior, that girl.
There was a heavy snowfall at the orphanage one winter.
Couldn't have thought that it snowed in Rome.
It's rare. But one year it happened. The first snowfall most of us has ever seen. And within minutes we were all out in the courtyard, pummeling each other with snowballs. My sister Julia truly came into her own that day. She was the captain, marshalling troops, launching attacks and counterattacks, even against the older children. Fearless. Her cheeks were fiery red. That German girl in blue, leading the charge, she could be my sister Julia. Even when we were far apart, she was animated. Even when we were far apart, she animated my thoughts, suffused my conversations, Julia. And so I bid farewell to Jan Schroeder. He would fly to Lisbon 6 months later, show up unannounced at the stage door of San Carlo National Theatre, with a bouquet of flowers and a note requesting that we meet again. I could have told him that I had fallen in love with an Italian cellist, and it would have been the truth. But I don't owe him any explanation, any courtesies. When German bombers were over Spain, and Guernica lay in ruins, I sent word back through the stage manager that such a meeting would not be possible.
Blackout. On the road to San Remo, May 1945. Lights up on Sam and Martina in the vehicle.
Those lights ahead. Genova, the coastal road.
Yes, I know. I've been to Genoa before.
You've traveled a lot for a school teacher from the south of Italy.
It's true. I've seen almost every part of my country.
I suppose you can't wait till you're finally back home.
I look forward to that day, if it should happen. It is not for me to say.
What were you doing in Genova?
I went there to look for a friend, my very closest friend, my sister.
Did you find her? I'm sorry.
She had traveled to Genoa to join a sailor partisans to fight the Nazis.
Why Genova? There were a lot of resistance fighters in Milan. Partisans.
They moved around frequently, hoping to stay one step in front of the Gestapo. She often talked of joining the Republicans in Spain, stowing away on a Spanish freighter to Barcelona. She never went to Spain, but Genoa still called her name. Shortly after she left, there was a small article in the newspaper in Milan about a raid on a terrorist cell in Genoa. It was said that many were killed and others arrested. I went there right away in hopes of finding her, or at least learning of her fate. The streets told me nothing, so I went home.
You had no clues as to what had happened?
Clues?
Answers.
No, not then, no. And I decided that even if she had survived, she would not be back in contact with me.
And why is that?
It would have been part of a plan to help me find a way to let her go once and for all. So yes, I've been to Genoa.
And did you?
Did I what?
Let go of her.
Of course I did not let her go. I told you, she's my sister.
Martina leaves the confines of the vehicle.
Hydrogen, lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium. The building blocks of creation. The language of the known universe. Beryllium, magnesium, calcium, strontium, barium. Everything we see and feel. Composed of these simple elements. The arrangements of spaces between them and the bonds they create. Of course I could not let her go. And as the weeks passed, then the months, I could think of nothing else. Where were you, Julia?
Gestapo Headquarters, Department D, Milan, April 1944.
Signora Visconti, you have been kind enough to respond to my invitation. And precisely on time. Sit, please.
I interpreted your note as a summons from an occupying power, not an invitation I was at liberty to decline.
Nevertheless.
Nevertheless. What did you wish to see me about?
Zoraik has requested that you sing again, Signora.
What?
We will grant you an immediate waiver, allowing you provisional membership in Zoraik Music Academy, and this will allow you to once more perform.
Perform?
Needless to say, if you were determined to have been a Jew at the time of your birth, such a waiver wouldn't be possible. Yet that question cannot be satisfactorily answered. And so, a waiver will be granted, and Zoraik would like you to sing.
I still don't understand.
An iron worker forges metals, a railroad worker keeps the train running, a chef cooks, a soldier fights. Each one contributes to the society in which they live, according to their training and abilities. You are a performing artist, arguably the best known performing artist remaining in occupied Italy. Zoraik is inviting you to perform.
inviting me to perform.
Must you keep repeating everything I say? To give a recital, as it were, in Milan, on a day in April for visiting German officers. Just you and a small chamber group, nothing elaborate.
Presumably, the propaganda office, or someone in the office, believes that a demonstration of opera music gaily sung whilst in the midst of war would be of value.
I do not pretend to understand the calculations of the propaganda office, but it is widely known that you have ardent devotees in the German High Command.
Widely known. Apparently, I'm among the few who have not yet been informed of this.
Then presumably you never wondered why you were permitted into Germany to perform with the Berlin State Opera in 1936. But getting to the matter at hand, the proposed recital, the musical selections would have to be approved by the Reich Music Chamber, of course, which is to say that the work of
Jewish composers and other denigrants would not be allowed.
I do think you understand. You would be paid, of course. Well, I have taken the liberty of filling out the membership form for the RMK, so if you would like to sign here...
And if I don't wish to sign, or to sing?
You remain safely here in Milan at the pleasure of the German occupation government. Should you refuse to comply with our request, you cannot expect the Reich to guarantee your safety and well-being.
Has the Reich ever granted my safety and well-being? I must respectfully decline your request and no longer sing.
You choose not to sing.
I choose not to sing at the pleasure of the German High Command or the German occupation forces or the Gestapo. Will that be all?
There is one more thing, actually. If you have another moment.
Producing a pendant.
Can you identify this?
It appears to be a pendant of some sort.
A diamond and emerald pendant.
Yes, if you say so.
Are you quite all right, senor?
I'm fine.
Would you like me to summon a doctor?
What? No,
Does it belong to you, this pendant?
I don't know.
Doesn't it belong to you?
I'm not sure.
Producing photos.
Would you not agree that it looks remarkably similar to the emerald and diamond pendant you were wearing during a reception at the Italian consulate in Berlin in 1936, after the opening of the opera Rusalka?
That necklace. That image is so blurred. It could be anything. What is it? A photograph from a spy camera?
Perhaps this snapshot will meet with your approval. March 1937, at the gala in Lisbon, following the opening of La Bohème.
There are probably many similar pendants in circulation. How did you acquire this?
This interview is mine. I am asking the questions here, Fräulein.
I once had a similar pendant. I have not seen it in years. I believe it was stolen.
Stolen?
Yes, from a hotel room in Paris in 1937 or 38, I believe.
Did you file a police report?
There was no point in filing a police report. It was irretrievably gone. The file report with the gendarmes would have been an exercise in futility.
Futility, you say? So, I take it you also did not report the loss to your insurance firm?
No.
That's unusual.
Is it? I did not have a rider for jewelry while traveling.
You have a remarkable recollection for the minute details of your insurance policy.
For the printed page in general, it has been of great value to me professionally.
No doubt. Curious, though, that it was stolen. In Paris, did you say?
1937 or 38, if I recall.
And that through a sequential and magical change of hands, it has somehow found its way back to Milan. Unless it was here all along.
Where did you find this?
Suffice it to say that we found it. And the man who was found to be in possession of it...
A man, you say?
Is being held and investigated for theft.
Theft?
That's his point, yes.
May I have it back, then?
So it is yours.
It was a gift from my husband.
We cannot possibly return it until our investigation is complete.
Will you keep me informed of the progress of your investigation?
One can't help but appreciate the irony. Requesting courtesies of the government that you so obviously hold in contempt. Your sister is well, I trust.
I cannot say. We've not been in touch for a number of months. Would that be all, Fräulein?
You're walking a tightrope, Signor.
Tightrope.
One would almost think there was an echo in this room.
Tightrope, you say?
A very thin one, in fact. Gossamer thin. It would distress many in the Reich to see you suffer a grievous fall.
Martina walks to a different zone of the stage, where there is a wall safe, its door ajar. She begins speaking to Julia as if in her imagination.
Julia, you're alive! You must be alive! Only you could have talked your way past the doorman, entered my apartment. Only you knew where I kept you safe.
To be alive in Milan. If anyone is alive here, yes, I am alive.
I would have given it to you. If only you had asked. The jewelry.
Jewelry to convert into currency. Currency to convert into explosives and bombs for bridges, railways, telecommunications.
The cash, any of it. All you had to do was ask.
I chose not to ask.
The numbers of the combination. How did you determine the numbers? You don't recall divulging them, do you?
You didn't?
Thought it would be safer if you didn't know.
I didn't know. I guessed.
The raid on Genoa. You might have died in Genoa. But you got away. You were given a second chance. Doesn't that mean anything to you?
Perhaps a chance to die again. Even in your operas, it is rare that one is given such a chance.
Julia exits.
Elements and the atoms and the spaces between them. The bonds they create. Electron to proton, proton to neutron, note to note, heart to heart. How could I reach Julia to let her know what trouble she was in? The Germans. The Germans knew everything, saw everything. When I could no longer stand it. With the sheer desperation of Julia's circumstances outweighed my fear of unintended consequences. I decided I had to find a way to talk to Johann Schroeder. Assuming he was still in Milan, I frequented the sidewalks outside the many buildings where the German military authorities were known to have their offices, hoping to spot him. One day, there he was, rounding the corner toward the Gestapo headquarters. Clumsily, I dropped a sheet of papers, and together we picked them up, exchanging a few words, and agreed to meet me at the park on the outskirts of Milan the next day.
A park on the outskirts of Milan, April 1944. Martina is waiting, checking her watch. Schroeder enters.
Herr Schroeder, there you are.
Checking the time, I see. 7 years, 11 months it's been since Berlin. 5 months since I spotted you on the train station. I was relieved to see you then. Alive, and apparently well.
I was nowhere near La Scala when it was bombed, if that's what you mean. I've not been near it for years. Wouldn't a cafe have been better?
No, we are alone here. But I don't have much time.
I need help.
What kind of help?
Help finding someone to... But I must first know who you are.
Who I am?
Before we go any further, back in 1936, you told me that you were a professor of Romance languages, that you grew up in...
Stuttgart.
That's right, Stuttgart. That your mother and father were both music teachers, and that you had the same type of phonograph that my adopted parents had in Padua.
The Kroll talking machine. One of the first to be sold in southern Germany. Parents were very proud of that.
That you taught yourself Italian so that you could understand the words of the operatic arias that your father played on the Victrola, and later Spanish.
And French. And a little Czech. My Czech is very rough.
It's funny how one can remember the details of a conversation 7 years before. Curious how all the details are all entirely match.
That could mean one of two things. Either it was a very well rehearsed story, or the truth.
What are you doing in Milan? I need to know who you are.
In 1937, in Lisbon, you wanted nothing to do with me. Could not even be bothered to come out of your dressing room to say hello.
I was engaged to be married.
Or goodbye.
War complicates things.
You once told me that you like to travel light. I should have remembered that and saved myself the trouble.
Must have been a great deal of trouble.
It was.
To arrange a trip to Lisbon, to arrive unexpected and uninvited. A gamble that you alone chose to take. War simplifies things, distills them down to whatever is essential. I did not need you then, Johann. Perhaps I need you now. But I must first understand, what are you doing in Italy? If you can tell me, you had 2 sons, around 9 and 11 when we met.
Franz.
That's right, Hans.
Hans died of diphtheria in 1938.
I'm so sorry. Truly. And the other?
Bernard, his older brother, is a radio operator attached to a unit in occupied Denmark.
Well away from the front.
Fortunately. Yes. I am a translator for the government of occupation.
That makes sense, yes. There must be a great deal to translate. Broadcast, publications, interrogations.
Interrogations, no. There are others who do that. I translate documents, mostly.
Documents.
Yes.
Are you still married?
No. We have divorced, but you still are, I see.
My husband died 4 years ago. I have no children, unless you count my younger sister.
She's the reason we're here now, is it not? It was she who was with you at the train station last winter. The reckless baby sister you once told me about.
You have a vivid imagination, Herr Schroeder.
It was not difficult to see through your little shadow play. She was obviously going off on a journey for an indeterminate amount of time, and you were struggling to contain your emotions while putting on a phony display of good cheer for a visiting German. Yet, all the while, you feared that you might never see her again. And I must assume that this is why you have gotten in touch with me, because she hasn't returned from that journey. She's disappeared into the underground, and you're hoping that I can help you find her.
I don't think this was a very good idea. I believe I've said enough.
You've said nothing, in fact. And now you're leaving.
You're frightening me. Can you forget this conversation ever took place?
No.
I no longer wish your help finding her. I thought I might, but I changed my mind.
I will leave it alone. That I can promise you.
Would appreciate that. Any inquiries might jeopardize her safety.
And mine as well. War simplifies things. I will leave it alone.
Thank you.
What leads you to believe your sister's still alive, Martina?
If she is, I want to tell her she needs to come home now.
If she is, I do hope you find her before anyone else does. Truly.
I'm sorry about the way I treated you in Lisbon. Johan, honestly, it was unnecessary.
You think I'm one of them?
You are one of them.
Blackout. Anzio Beachhead, 30 miles from Rome, April 1944. Sam and Joey are behind a barricade. Sam is reading a book. Joey's jumpy and maybe pacing.
2 or 3 weeks and we'd be in Rome, ain't that what you said? And that was 3 months ago.
Yeah, so I was a little off.
Just a little. I don't know how much more of this I could take, Sam.
Listen to me. We got through North Africa, didn't we?
Yeah,
Sicily and Salerno?
yeah.
We're getting close to Rome every step along the way.
We're not taking any more steps, Sam. We're stuck here in Anzio. It may just be 30 miles, but there are a lot of Germans between here and the Colosseum.
Gonna break out of here as well.
Yeah, but when?
How the hell do I know when? Do I look like General Eisenhower to you?
But you really think we're gonna break out of here?
Of course I do. Eventually. Here it comes. How is it possible that I know what you're gonna say even before you know you're gonna say it?
That's ridiculous, because as a matter of fact, I wasn't about to say anything at all. It's just that if we
Make it as far as Milan, I'm gonna introduce you to Martina Visconti.
You think you're a genius, don't you?
3 things you've talked about since we got off the troop ship in North Africa. 1, you can't sleep. 2, when you get home, you can open up Rose and Brothers Furnishing and Men's Apparel, which still makes no sense whatsoever. And 3, once we're in Milan, you're gonna introduce me to Martina Visconti.
She's world famous. I still can't believe you've never heard of her.
How do you get so interested in opera anyway? I mean, you seem like a fairly normal person otherwise. Well, most of the time at least.
I grew up with it. My mother performed in little theaters in upstate New York. She was semi-pro, you could say. It was her that introduced me to Martina Visconti.
So do you think she's gonna remember you when she sees you?
Truthfully, I doubt it. She's got thousands of fans, legions of fans, and I seriously doubt whether she'll have the vaguest recollection of Joey Rosen from Trenton, New Jersey. I'm sure she's got more important things on her mind, but that won't matter. I still want to see her. There's something I want to tell her.
Blackout. A hotel room in Milan, April 1944. Lights up on a dimly lit room. Martina and Schroeder are in bed.
How could I forget the snowball in Berlin? Children appearing as if fallen from the sky. Snowball fights in the street. I want you to know that I had no intention of going to bed with you again. None at all. In fact, when I heard the sound of your voice over the telephone, I was terrified. I thought that you might be bringing me some horrible news.
About your sister?
Yes.
I told you I would leave the question of your sister's whereabouts alone, not pursue it.
But I thought you might have heard something, seen something. Yet when you appeared once more in the park, I could see at once there was no such news. I was so relieved and exhilarated, I wanted to weep. I had been numb with fear. Then all at once I was alive once more, granted a reprieve. As if I had been imprisoned by my own terror for 100 years, rather than an hour. I wanted to remind myself what it was like to feel every sensation, to make love again. You must not call me again, unless...
Last week, seeing you in the park rekindled my memories of Berlin. All the same feelings came back. I had to call you.
Unless you have news. Why do you stay on
Stay on.
with the Nazis?
It's because of my son. My only son. I only want to keep him safe.
Yes, of course.
I was pressed into government service shortly before the Italian surrender and the German occupation. It's what I must do to keep him safe.
Yes.
We'll do whatever we can to try to keep them safe, the ones we love. All the rest, it no longer seems as important anymore.
I want to know if they have any record of her. When she was last spotted, if she's been captured. or even killed. I want to know this too. I need to know the truth so that I can later go. I'm not asking you to inquire, please. No, nothing to invite scrutiny, but to keep your eyes open. That's all I ask.
Her name is Julia.
She's a wanderer. She's impulsive and reckless and impressionable. She may have accidentally gotten caught up with the people in the resistance, but she's apolitical, completely agnostic. Her name is Julia. Yes.
Does she have any aliases? As in Greta, was it?
There was no alias. It was the name I pulled out of the air at the train station when I realized that we were being watched by a visitor from Berlin. But no, not aware of any aliases. Song to the moon. Remember, Rusalka's plaintive appeal to the all-seeing moon.
Yeah, I did translate that once.
Today, even if the moon had power of speech, I doubt that she could tell me where my sister is. Not when all the visible light of the world's been blotted out by smoke and tracer fire and white phosphorus. Yet in its place, there is German intelligence.
She gets out of bed and begins to dress.
Martina.
Maybe once the war's over. Maybe in another 7 years, 11 months. Maybe when my sister comes home. But until then, please, do not call me unless you have something new to tell me.
She kisses him.
I must go.
Blackout. On the road to San Remo, May 1945. Sam and Martina are in the vehicle. Martina's eyes are closed. An armed forces radio broadcast is fading in and out over radio static. Suddenly, headlights from behind and the sound of a car accelerating past them with the blaring of a horn. Martina startles awake.
Jesus!
Late for
He
his
must be
own...
running very late for a meeting.
Late for his own funeral, maybe. Where are we?
About 70 kilometers from San Remo.
What do you think will happen to me once we're in San Remo?
It's hard for me to say. My advice is to simply tell them who you are, tell your whole story as plainly and as honestly as you can, and hope that somebody's going to listen.
That mob back in Milan. They were about to kill me.
Yeah, I know.
So many millions died in the war. One more innocent death would not matter. Yet, more than anything, I wanted to know.
Wanted to know what?
How the story ended for my sister Julia. It seemed only fair to know, before dying, whether she in fact survived. Whether I had done my job well.
Martina walks onto the zone of the stage where there is the wall safe, its door ajar. She begins speaking to Julia, who appears again as if in her imagination, as a projection of Martina's mind.
The numbers. How did you determine the numbers of the combination? I don't recall divulging them to you.
You didn't.
Then,
That day back in Rome, when Papa and Mama arrived to take us away from the orphanage, the matrons had us put on our dresses, wash our faces well, and they put ribbons in our hair.
don't remember the ribbons.
Oh yes, a pink one for you and for me, a red one. They had us wait out in front of the orphanage. I could feel the eyes of the children, our friends, upon our backs as they peered out through the windows of the orphanage. Envious eyes. Sad eyes. Angry eyes. Why are you crying, Julia? You asked me as we stood there holding hands. Is it because of happiness?
Lights gradually up on Julia. Names are scrawled all over her bare skin.
Names.
Written on my arms, my chest, my belly. I wanted to remember my friends, all of the other children. So I had pilfered the fountain pen from the orphanage office and asked each of them to write their names on me. I was hoping that you could transcribe them into a book for me, but you got hysterical and made me wash them off right away.
I remember. I remember now. I'm so sorry, Julia.
You said that our new parents would surely take me back to the orphanage when they realized what a crazy, ungrateful child I was. I remember watching the names go down the drain. Later that night, I woke you up very upset. I insisted that we try to recover the names. I had heard somewhere that modern detectives could decipher the words on a piece of paper even after it had been set ablaze and turned to ash. Maybe it was you who told me that tall tale. It doesn't work that way, Julia. You told me. This is water, not fire. No one can retrieve those names. Go to sleep. Via Philodramatici. 2/22/01/21. You had a plan. Even as a child, you had a plan. You were propelled by ambition. It was as if you willed us away from danger out of Rome to Padua decades before this war began. Willed yourself to sing. Your plan was to get as far away from the orphanage, from the experience of being an unwanted orphan as one could imagine, and end up on the stage at La Scala, taking in the adulation of the multitudes. This was your plan, even before you knew that you could sing. For me, it was not enough to escape from the orphanage. I wanted to take the others with me, or at least hold on to their memories for as long as I could. 22/01/21. La Scala. It was easy.
Don't you see? I simply didn't want to lose you. Everything I've done, it's not for wanting to lose you.
They came for the Jews of Rome last fall. Which of my childhood friends did they kill? Guido, Francesca, Isabella, Marco? Which did they enslave in Poland? Which of the names can I no longer remember?
On the other side of the war, all I want is for us to be together again.
This war. I did not choose this war, but now I'm a part of it. And in the name of all that is just, all that is right, and in the name of all those who we left behind, I'm not going to quit until they do.
The phone rings, startling Martina. Julia exits. Martina hesitates, waits 5 or 6 rings, then picks up the phone.
Pronto.
Blackout. End of Act 1. Act 2. A park on the outskirts of Milan, April 1944. Schroeder is checking his watch. Martina arrives.
Johann.
There's a good chance I'm being followed.
By whom?
By my own government, of course.
What have you found out?
7 young people were arrested with explosives last night near a railway bridge outside of Milan. 6 young men and a girl. A German patrol intercepted them. They're currently being held and interrogated by the Gestapo.
Do you know who these people are?
Although every one of them had false identity papers. I believe that one of them may be your sister, Julia.
You believe?
I can't say for sure, but she looks similar to the girl I spotted with you at the train station on the other
But that was months ago. You saw her for what? A minute back then. So you cannot be certain.
If it is her, she has cut her hair and dyed it.
You saw her today then?
Just for a moment. But she seemed to recognize me. Stared at me with some kind of defiance.
It's Julia. Have you been taking part in her interrogation?
No.
Have you?
No, I said.
Answer me. Tell me the truth, damn it. Have you been taking part in her interrogation?
No, I have not!
If I find out that you are, I swear I will kill you.
Listen to me, Martina. I may be mistaken about your sister Julia, but I didn't think so. I wish I did not have to bring you such bad news. You asked me to keep my eyes open.
Yes, I did. Thank you, I suppose.
There's something else. About this, I am not at all mistaken. The Jews of Padua are in imminent danger.
Why should this concern me?
This is where you were brought up, is it not? You're aware of the deportations last year in Rome, Florence, Venice? The new Gestapo chief in Padua subscribes fully to the racial policies of the regime and will soon be implementing measures to enforce them.
How soon?
Very soon.
What are you doing? I do not understand why you're telling me this.
Perhaps you can send word out.
It's impossible! There's no one I could trust with this information. I would have to travel there myself.
Yes, of course.
But first, I must see my sister.
They will not let you see your sister.
But I believe they will.
Your fame has no currency as far as the Gestapo is concerned.
Yet, my voice apparently does. They want me to sing.
Sing? Whatever for?
I have no idea why. But they want me to sing.
Your sister is being held as a terrorist. If you were to go to the Gestapo and claim her as your own, this would simply unmask her as a Jew as well.
She could not possibly be in any more danger than she is at the
Martina,
moment.
listen to me. Her situation is hopeless. You cannot save her. The people of Padua, there are hundreds of them whose lives are in peril. The families that adopted you.
I cannot bear the weight of this war on my shoulders. I cannot. I simply cannot. I just want to see my sister. I want her to come home with me. I want to protect her, just as you wish to protect your son. What is it? What's the matter?
I lost them. I've lost my son. They tell me he was shot to death by a Danish partisan. My son is gone.
So sorry. What will you do now?
I've been granted bereavement leave. Booked a passage on the next train to Stuttgart. If the train stops in Zurich, I will simply get off. I can't do this anymore.
Road sounds. Sam enters.
So you were in Milan for most of the war.
Yes.
First Mussolini, then the Allied bombings, the Nazi occupation, then after the liberation, the reprisals. Quite a lineup.
Perhaps not as bad as in Milan as some other places.
Every place I've been, people have said that when the Germans knew it was their time was up, they became more brutal than ever.
Not everyone was equally culpable. Not every German was a bad person.
A good German. That's a new one.
At the very least. Not the bad German.
They don't exist.
You have many opinions, from music to Germans.
Well, watching your buddies get blown up by Krotz tends to make one very opinionated.
Sam exits.
We lay separately, Johann Schroeder and I. We watched as he exited the park on the outskirts of Milan, joined the scattered few pedestrians on the sidewalk. What I saw then, it's not like deja vu, because I'm quite sure I'd never seen this scene play out before. At least, not in real life. There was a certain inevitability about it that left me breathless.
Excuse me, Herr Schroeder. Stop, please. Halt. Halt! This is an order!
Squealing of brakes and a collision.
Time slowed down. Just for an instant. Then When it resumed its ordinary pace, I picked up mine.
Gestapo headquarters, Department D, Milan, later that day.
Sit down, Signora.
Where are you holding my sister?
Your sister, who you have not seen in some weeks? What leads you to believe that we would hold your sister?
I know many people in Milan. Some of them may be in the resistance. I don't ask and they don't tell me. But one of them told me that my sister was arrested.
Who?
I will not say.
Since this meeting is concluded.
Johann Schroeder. The man you murdered.
Yes, Schroeder was the victim of an unfortunate accident. A reminder that one should always look both ways when crossing a busy roadway. A capable translator, Schroeder. Although, we've heard that his Czech was a little rough. We are holding a young woman whose identity is uncertain. Every time we interview her, she gives us a different name. Girls' names, boys' names. It does not seem to matter. Look at this preposterous list of names she has given us.
Names.
What?
Names.
Do you know where we can find these people?
At the orphanage. The orphanage in Rome.
What nonsense. Perhaps you have seen this page before. The periodic table of the elements. You seem stunned. It's only the periodic table. Commonly available in most any store selling scientific supplies, textbooks, and the like. Nowhere near as rare as the emerald and diamond pendants that once belonged to you.
Where is she?
Various factors of the resistance were communicating with each other via short wave using a numeric code tied to the periodic table. Quite clever, don't you think? Your sister's scientific training was put to creative use after all.
Where is Julia?
No doubt your sister Julia took that emerald and diamond pendant from
No,
you.
that's not what happened at all. I gave it to her. She had decided to go abroad and leave Italy after the war. But she needed money to procure the right papers, to pay for passage to America. The lira was all but worthless. So I gave her that piece of jewelry. She said she knew someone who could convert it to cash.
Or explosives, perhaps. Enough dynamite to destroy a locomotive carrying troops and supplies.
I know nothing about explosives, nor would she. It fell into the wrong hands.
Enough explosives to sink a boat full of lies, even.
Where is my sister?
Your sister and 5 of her comrades are being held for espionage and terrorism.
6, I thought.
Now they are 5. Plus your sister.
She has nothing to do with any of this. I'm sure she was simply in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yet she has already confessed. She will have a trial, and then she will be executed.
Let me trade places with my sister. I was the one responsible. It was my jewelry, my money. She does not deserve to die.
Put you in your sister's place and release a terrorist. As you might imagine, the Reich would gain nothing from that particular maneuver. One can only imagine the howls of the literati around the world. It would be an amusing diversion, but I don't believe that is going to happen.
And if I sing for you?
And if you sing for us?
A small recital.
A concert at the studios of Radio Liberty.
A concert now.
You know how it is. When you're planning, say, a small picnic, one thing leads to another, and the next thing you know, the whole neighborhood arrives.
And it would be broadcast.
Oh, yes. On Radio Liberty and the other shortwave channels. Think of it. Your voice would be heard once more throughout the world. Again, the calculations and strategies of the propaganda officers are opaque to me, as the teachings of the Talmud are reputed to be amongst you Jews.
It doesn't matter to me anymore. I don't need to know why. But in exchange for this, my sister would be released.
In exchange for this, her life would be spared, and she would be held as a prisoner of war. on the conditions that you scrupulously refrain from even the appearance of any subversive activities in the future.
The others. Those who were arrested with her.
This has nothing to do with the others.
Yes, it does. I know she will insist.
My goodness. The Visconti sisters are scarcely in a position to negotiate. Next, you'll be demanding that the Jews of Padua be spared from deportation. That a piece of misinformation was planted, you see. And Herr Schroeder took the bait. Some people apparently do fall prey to the delusion that they can carry the entire war on their shoulders, when they should be content, as you have been, with more modest goals. We had to ask ourselves years ago why she has remained in Italy throughout these years of war, when she could have traveled abroad and continued her career. The whole thing made no sense, until it did. We concluded that there was only one possible reason. She stayed because she was trying, with decidedly mixed results, to look after her stubborn, recalcitrant, rebellious sister. These are the terms. There's nothing more to be added. It is for you to decide.
But there is one more thing to be added, Fräulein. Unless you agree to this one condition, there will be no deal.
Blackout. Gestapo prison cell, an hour later. Lights up on Julia, the clanging of cell doors. Martina enters.
Oh, Julia, come. What have they done to you?
What are you doing here?
How could I not try to see you? 5 minutes, they say.
I confessed the crimes against the occupying forces, but I never told them anything else, including my name. I was hoping not to implicate you.
Implicate me? Of course I am implicated. You are my baby sister.
They have learned nothing from me other than some basic science. I recited the periodic tables through the beatings and the tortures. Do you remember them? Those awful tables.
Of course I do.
How I used to fret and slave over them.
Yes.
Not anymore. Hydrogen, lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium. You see that? It was easier than I thought. Beryllium, magnesium, calcium, strontium, barium. I have now found out that I have a great capacity for pain, and the Gestapo interrogators know the periodic tables. I am the victor.
Julia, listen to me. They have agreed to spare your life.
That is impossible. No one leaves this prison alive. Do you remember that German we saw at the train station when I was leaving for Genoa? Even then they were following me. I saw him here again, here, today.
It's not Gestapo, Julia.
You are delusional.
Julia, did you hear me? They have agreed to spare your life.
What have you done in exchange for this? What kind of bargain have you struck?
The Germans want me to give a live recital in a few days on Radio Liberty.
What? You're joking. Why?
Obviously, because they think it will somehow suit their purposes, to show defiance to the Allies, to demonstrate that life goes on undisturbed despite their bombings, to please Hitler's generals. I cannot think like a Nazi, so I can hardly explain to you their reasoning, but in exchange for this, he will let you live.
And set us free?
They will spare your life, treat you as a prisoner of war.
And the others?
I tried. I can do nothing for the others.
That's unacceptable.
I can do nothing for the others. Just you.
To collaborate with the Nazis? You can't seriously consider such a thing.
It's not collaborating. It's only singing.
This is your voice. Your gift to the world. Do not give it to them, even for an instant. To use as a weapon in their war or even to warm their twisted hearts. You must refuse.
Did you hear what I just said, Julia? You won't be executed. At the end of the war, you will live free.
And you will become a Nazi whore. No, do not do this, Martina. Not in my name. It would be an insult to me and every one of the people who have died fighting against fascism. They're tempting you, but you must defy them.
No, Julia, I can't.
But you must. You mustn't play into their hands. Refuse them. They cannot hurt you, but you can hurt them. By saying no, forever no, there is no fairness in this guild, none at all.
Julia, I don't want to lose you.
To lose you, Martina. To lose this world, the only one I've ever known. It's not an easy thing to accept. I have no wish to die. But this is how it must be. Oh, one day, all this pain, all these tears, this sweat, this terror and heartbreak will be gone. And the Nazis will be gone. Their bullets and their prison cells will be gone. But a story will remain. Think of how you wish this story to be told, Martina. Courage.
Julia.
Lose me, Martina. I'm ready to die. Lose me at last.
Blackout. The radio broadcast, April 20th, 1944, various locations. Lights up on the Anzio beachhead. There is a shortwave radio turned on to Radio Liberty. Sam is napping, Joey absently reading a book.
Sam, it's her.
What? Who?
Martina Visconti, that's her on the shortwave.
You're dreaming, Joey. We're hearing a mirage. Can you hear a mirage?
I'm sure of it. I'd recognize her voice anywhere. She's giving a live broadcast.
If you ask me, she sounds like every other opera singer I've ever heard.
I ain't asking you. I'm telling you. It's Martina Visconti. I'd recognize her voice anywhere. How many opera singers have you ever listened to?
Lights up on Martina, in front of a radio microphone, singing.
Joey, not this again.
No, go ahead. Name them. We know so much about opera.
How am I supposed to remember their names? It's hard enough to listen to them. I saw Night at the Opera, okay?
That's not an opera. That's a Marx Brothers movie.
Well, it had a lady in it who sang just like this one.
That was Kitty Carlisle, you don't...
Oh, so sue me. This is screwed up, Joey. I never said I knew a damn thing about opera. Then here I am, all of a sudden, you got me all defensive about how much I know about opera. You know what? You're being argumentative.
Shh. I'm trying to listen. How can I hear her sing with you yakking away like that?
What's she doing on a Nazi radio channel?
How the hell do I know?
Lights up on Gestapo official.
I'm just hearing this voice I know, like the voice of my mother. A voice I ain't heard in years, and you're telling me I'm hearing things.
I didn't say you were hearing things.
We're sitting here on this fucking beachhead, and I'm wondering what the fuck Martina Visconti is doing singing on Radio Liberty for the fucking Nazis. And you're telling me I'm hearing things.
Take it easy, Joey. It ain't worth getting so worked up about.
How about you let me be the judge of that?
Okay.
And fuck you if you think I'm fucking hearing things. Because if that ain't Martina Visconti, then my grandmother is Benito Mussolini.
Schroeder appears as if in 1936 Berlin, in Martina's imagination, standing by a window and illuminated by winter light.
I thought you told me she was Jewish, Martina Visconti.
That's what I thought too.
Well, then you have to wonder what the hell she's doing singing on Radio Liberty.
Maybe I was misinformed.
Turning off the radio.
Fuck.
Lights up on Julia on another part of the stage, reading a letter.
Dear Julia, when I left you in the basement of Gestapo headquarters, I left resolved to show the same gallant courage you had demonstrated to me, to tell the Nazis that there would be no deal. The night was fitful. I could scarcely sleep, but I must have nodded off briefly, for I dreamed that I was standing naked in front of a mirror. On my body was written the atomic symbols and atomic numbers of the periodic table of elements. And then it began to rain. Although the dream started indoors, the rain began to come down, and I watched as the raindrops washed away the numbers down onto the ground, down into the street. For by now I was outdoors. I tried to retrieve them for you, the names and numbers, even though you tried to stop me.
Lights up on Martina.
But it was no use.
It was no use, Martina, you said. You can never get them back. When I awoke, I was sobbing, all alone in the great fullness of grief, shaking. And along with those numbers, I had lost all my resolve, all my strength. Before I went on the air, they promised me they would bring you this later. Forgive me, Julia. If you are reading this, please forgive me. Your loving sister, Martina.
Blackout. A field hospital in Rome, May 1944. Joey is on a hospital cot, his head bandaged. Sam enters.
Joey! It took me forever to track you down.
Sam, where the hell are we?
We're in Rome, Joey.
Rome, huh? You'd always said we get to Rome. Maybe I better not move.
Oh, we broke out of the beachhead a few days ago. Oh, remember that?
I'm afraid I don't.
Advanced all the way to the outskirts of the city. That's when you got hit by a sniper.
That's too bad, huh?
Oh, we took care of him with a grenade.
Oh, but it ain't quite so bad. What happened to the others?
You mean the rest of the Germans?
Yeah, the rest of the Germans.
They're gone. Yeah, I guess they're digging in around Florence and Milan. That's for another day. Now, when are you going to quit your malingering and get out of this cot?
Are you kidding me? I'm finally getting a chance to catch up on my sleep. Sam, all the crazy stuff I said on the beachhead, I really didn't mean any of it.
Crazy stuff?
About Martina Visconti.
Oh my God, Joey, you're still thinking about that? You know what? Just forget about it. She'll never know. It was between you and me.
You promise?
Promise.
It was in the heat of the moment, and I was getting really emotional. And when people get emotional, they say some crazy things.
Like I said, don't worry about it. When you and I get to Milan, we're going to look her up, or whatever you said back then. It's all in the past.
I never really told you the story of how I got to know Martina Visconti, did I?
Your mother introduced you or something.
My mother never met her. But she had several of her phonograph records.
Okay.
My mother and my brother and my father and me, we were traveling in a train in upstate New York. I was 9. The train went off track. Everyone in my family was killed except me. Screwy, isn't it?
Joey, you don't have to...
No, I really want to. Say, this morphine stuff, it makes life more interesting, you know?
I'll have to try it sometime.
What's with the epaulette, by the way?
A battlefield commission. You've got to listen to me now. I'm your superior officer.
Anyway, as I was saying, all I remember is we was riding along, and all of a sudden everything went kaplooey. The ride suddenly got rough, very rough. Suitcases flying, people screaming and hanging on for dear life. Just the most horrible racket. The car we was riding in ended up upside down in the ravine. They found me on the ground halfway between the tracks and the ravine. How I ended up outside the car, I still don't know to this day.
Oh, jeez. Joey. No wonder you don't like trains.
Me and trains never got along, to tell you the truth. Anyway, I've been to live with relatives in New York. You know, they say that kids are tough, resilient. But to be honest with you, I was dying inside.
That's really tough, you know. I'm sorry.
It's not your fault, Sam. Wilson Brothers Men's Furnishings and Apparel. I got a brother, you see. He just staying with me right now. Anyways, I'm going to rest now. Is that okay, Lieutenant?
Sure it is.
I'll tell you the rest of the story later. I promise.
Sure. Get some more rest, Joey.
Lights fade on Sam and Joey. Martina appears.
April 1945. Milan has fallen. The Germans have retreated. Throughout the city, scenes of jubilation, celebration, retribution. I walk through the streets day by day looking for you. By night, I wait by the telephone, wheeling you to call, listening for the knock on the door which never arrives. Eventually, I begin to realize what these many months of silence have been trying to tell me. That I have lost you. Either you were murdered, or you finally ran away from me for good. I may never know which one it was. One day, someone on the street recognizes me. With terrible speed, a group of people begins to congregate around me, 10 or 12 of them. It's her, they say, Martina Visconti, Nazi tramp collaborator, the one who serenaded Hitler on his birthday. Hitler's birthday. Did I know? Would it have mattered? This is the day I'm going to die, I finally decide. A kind of rough justice. Then, 2 American MPs round the corner disperse the group and take me into their custody. We have nothing on you, they later tell me. But the Italians may. A few days later, an American lieutenant arrives. We're going to have to transfer you to Italian authorities. Let them sort it out, he tells me. As soon as we can figure out where the hell we are going.
Blackout. Near San Remo, Italy, May 1945. Lights up on the vehicle. Sam is still driving.
Look at that. 2 signs pointing to the center of San Remo, and both of them pointing in opposite directions.
This is how you know you're still in Italy.
Well, maybe I'll go this way instead. No arrows, so maybe it actually goes somewhere. Since we're almost there, now I'm going to tell you a little story about my army buddy, Joey.
The one who could not sleep.
The one who could never get any sleep. Anyway, his mom was a small-time opera singer, but she and her husband and Joey's brother were killed in a train accident when he was young. His mother left behind a box full of opera records. One day, the kids open the box and sees a recording by Martina Visconti. He remembers his mother having mentioned that name because the singer was somewhat unique, an Italian Jew, and the kid's Jewish as well. So he puts the needle on the record, and the music fills the room. He said he felt like the frozen ground must feel coming to life in the spring, or something to that effect.
It's a very beautiful picture.
There was something about that singer's voice that went right into his heart. So the kid buys an aerogram at the 5 and Dime and writes to her, tells her about how his his mother was an opera singer too, but she was gone now, and he closes the letter by telling her that her singing was almost as beautiful as that of the mother he had lost.
In all my life, I cannot imagine a review so beautiful.
Anyway, he takes the letter to the post office and buys an airmail stamp and sends it off to Martina Visconti, care of La Scala in Milan, a world-famous place his mother used to tell him about. Deep down, he never expects that she's going to write back.
But she does write back. How could she not write back?
They begin a correspondence, these two, one that goes on for a couple of years. He tells her all about the ups and downs of his life. It's curious, isn't it? A kid opening up like that to a perfect stranger.
These are the things he has been saving to tell his mother. That's why.
Sam pulls over and stops the vehicle.
He receives one final letter from Martina Visconti in 1936. She includes this picture, by the way.
Sam hands her a small, battered photograph. Martina slowly exits the vehicle, followed by Sam.
Must have been a beautiful letter. Because on the day it arrives, he makes up his mind that he'd one day travel to Milan to find her and thank her.
For what?
For keeping him company. For pushing him towards something resembling light, I suppose. Since Joey's no longer here, since he never quite made it to Milan to tell Martina Visconti how much she meant to him, I thought it was only right. He was hit by a sniper outside of Rome, Joey. I was with him when he got shot. Called for a medic. It was touch and go for a few days.
Touch and go.
It means nobody was sure if he wasn't going to live. As it turns out, he didn't.
The scene becomes illuminated by the first rays of daybreak.
Joey always said that we could find you at La Scala, so that's where I went as soon as I arrived in Milan. Little did I know that it had been bombed, but the caretaker told me that he heard you were in American custody. These orders of mine to take you to San Remo, a cover in case we ran into Italian police along the way. Here's some money. Just over there is the French border. Your papers look close enough to the real thing. Odds are you'll get across all right. And you'll probably want to get as far away from Italy as you can, at least until things cool down. Go on now. Best of luck.
Martina takes a step towards Franks,
Miss Visconti.
Yes.
handing the dog tag to Martina.
Joey didn't have any close friends, not even a sweetheart back home.
It was a beautiful letter, Lieutenant. Written from the heart. I remember it still. I was an orphan too.
Sam exits. A boy's voice is heard.
Dear Joey, I will be leaving you now. The truth, as you've already learned, is that people leave. Yet those who you have loved will always live on within your heart. Think of your life as a long journey. Sometimes your way will be illuminated with bright rays of sunlight. Sometimes you will be sailing into the night. When traveling into darkness, you may at times feel afraid and lost, but do not be afraid. It is only nightfall, a temporary darkness. You may at times hear the voice of your mother and father murmuring in your ear. Let them guide you, but tell them not to worry. Tell them that you will be all right. For the courage that burns within your heart will see you through in the end. Trust in your courage. Hold it before you like a lantern to illuminate the night, and you will sail once again into the morning that is just on the other side of night.
A woman steps out of the shadows. It is Julia.
Martina, I think we might have passed you on a winding road 20 kilometers back.
That was you! Your stupid pig driver could have gotten us killed!
They told me at army headquarters that you were headed for Saint-Remo. That could only mean one thing. That you were going to cross the border into France. I told the driver to hurry, knowing that if I were too late, I might never see you again. Each passing kilometer I counted off like a chain of worry beads. To each marker, to each bead, I assigned a name. Hydrogen, lithium, sodium,
Potassium, rubidium.
brava, dear sister. You've played your part and I mine, and somehow, so improbably, we both ended up together on the other side of the war. Forgive me for the pain I caused you.
No, you don't have to.
You have taken care of me for so long now, but now it is my turn to try to be a good sister to you. To tell you what you must do. Don't flee to France. Stay in Italy. Stay and tell them your story. I'll be beside you and I will tell mine.
And if they don't believe me, don't believe either of us.
Last night I wrote upon my arms the names of those that I left behind at the Gestapo prison. Michel, Andrea, Giovanni, Simone, Piero, Nicolo. Julia, you would have said to me, you are a crazy girl, why would you do such a thing?
No, it's not crazy at all.
And this morning, I washed them all away. I watched as the ink blurred and streaked and merged with my tears and ran down the drain. Tears of sorrow and joy and rage, as I watched the names return to the aquifers that run among the rare earth elements of Italy, where they would forever stay. They may not believe you at first. May not believe me when I tell them why I alone among all the Gestapo prisoners in Milan escaped with my life. But when they call our names, we have an obligation to tell them what happened. To say, presente! Here. Take my hand.
They join hands.
Do you remember the circus, Julia? The circus in Rome?
Elephants, I think.
You sat upon my lap.
Clowns, maybe?
A tightrope walker.
Oh, yes, the tightrope walker. She almost fell, didn't she?
You cried out.
I was frightened.
So was I, Julia. So was I.
You held me tighter.
You murmured something in my ear. Something that was difficult to hear above the circus noise.
Martina, don't ever let me go. I believe I said. And you must have listened.
Martina and Julia embrace. Music swells as it segues into vocal aria, Song to the Moon. Blackout. End of play.